The Argentine Nightmare, a middle-class survival guide. Imagine waking up on a Monday morning, checking your banking app, and seeing a message that says, "Access restricted." You drive to the nearest ATM, and there is a line stretching 3 blocks. When you finally reach the machine, it tells you that you can only withdraw $20. Not $20 per hour or per day, but $20 for the entire week. You look at the prices in the store window across the street, and you see a clerk changing the labels. The bread that cost $1 yesterday is now $3. By the time you finish your shift at work, it will be $5. This is not a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. This was the daily reality for millions of middle-class families in Argentina during the crash of 2001. It is a story that every person living in a developed nation needs to study, because the patterns that destroyed Argentina are appearing in the West today. Argentina was not a third world country. In the early 20th century, it was one of the wealthiest nations on earth, richer than France and Italy. It had a massive middle class, a world-class education system, and beautiful architecture that earned Buenos Aires the nickname the Paraiso of the South. But beneath the surface, a cancer was growing. The government had spent decades spending money it didn't have, racking up massive foreign debts and pegging its currency, the peso, to the US dollar in a desperate attempt to maintain an illusion of stability. When the debt bubble finally burst, the collapse was not a slow decline. It was a violent, overnight disintegration of the social contract. The first lesson of the Argentine collapse is that the bank is not your friend. In December 2001, the government implemented what became known as to prevent a bank run and stop the flight of capital. They froze every single bank account in the country. People who had spent 30 years saving for retirement suddenly found their life savings trapped behind a digital wall. You could see your money on the screen, but you couldn't touch it. Even worse, the government then forcibly converted those dollar savings into pesos at a fixed rate, just as the peso's value plummeted. In a matter of weeks, the middle class lost 70% of their purchasing power. Those who kept their wealth in the system were wiped out. Those who kept physical cash, gold, or assets outside the banks were the only ones who survived. When the currency dies, the barter economy is born. In the months following the crash, Argentina saw the rise of the nodos de trueque or barter nodes. These were massive markets where tens of thousands of people gathered to trade goods without using money. A dentist would trade a tooth extraction for a bag of flour. An accountant would trade tax services for a pair of shoes. If you didn't have a tangible skill or a physical product to trade, you had nothing. This is a crucial realization for the modern worker. In a total economic collapse, your university degree in middle management or social media marketing becomes worthless. Survival economics rewards the makers, the fixers, and the healers. The collapse also transformed the physical safety of the cities. As the economy disintegrated, crime soared, but it wasn't just desperate people stealing bread. Organized express kidnappings became a business model. Criminals would snatch a middle-class person off the street and hold them for a few hours until their family could scrape together a few $100s in cash. Gated communities became fortresses, but even they weren't entirely safe. The social fabric tore apart and trust disappeared. Survival in Argentina meant learning situational awareness. It meant never stopping at red lights at night, changing your route to work every day, and never ever showing signs of wealth in public. The gray man concept blending in and looking as poor as everyone else became a mandatory life skill. One of the most fascinating and tragic aspects of the Argentine story is the mental health crisis that followed. For a middle-class family, the hardest part isn't just the lack of money, it's the loss of status. Seeing your father, who used to be a bank manager, collecting cardboard on the street to sell for scrap, is a psychological trauma that lasts for generations. Suicide rates spiked. Divorce rates exploded. The stress of not knowing if you can feed your children tomorrow breaks the human spirit faster than physical hunger. Survival economics is as much about psychological resilience as it is about financial planning. You must be mentally prepared to lose everything and start over from zero. But even in the darkness, there were those who thrived. These were the people who understood the parallel world. While the official economy was dead, a massive black market emerged. The blue dollar, the unofficial exchange rate, became the real price of the economy. If you had access to foreign currency or hard assets, you were a king among ruins. People who had diversified their wealth into physical gold or international accounts before the crash were able to buy real estate and businesses for pennies on the dollar. The greatest transfer of wealth in Argentine history happened during its worst crisis. The lesson is clear. When the system is burning, the only people who can put out the fire are those who brought their own water. The Argentine crisis is not over. The country has defaulted on its debt multiple times since then, and inflation today is back at triple digits. The people have become experts in survival. They don't save in pesos. The moment they get paid, they buy stuffed cans of food, building materials, car, parts, anything that holds value better than the paper currency. This high-velocity spending is a survival mechanism. If you hold the currency for more than 24 hours, you lose money. This creates a culture of constant consumption and zero long-term investment, which further destroys the economy. It is a death spiral that is very hard to exit. As we look at the D2 GDP ratios in the United States, Europe, and Japan today, we see the ghost of Argentina. We see governments that cannot stop spending. We see central banks that are trapped between hyperinflation and a total market crash. We see a middle class that is being squeezed by the rising cost of a set. The Corralito of the future might not be a physical lock on the bank door. It might be a central bank digital currency that restricts your spending to approved vendors. The tactics change, but the goal is the same: to make the public pay for the failures of the elite. Your survival guide for this coming reality starts with 3 steps. First, radical decentralization. Do not keep all your eggs in one banking basket. Have physical cash at home, have precious metals in your own possession, and understand how to move value across borders using decentralized protocols. Second, invest in antiforeal skills. Learn how to repair things, how to grow food, how to provide basic medical care. Be the person that everyone else needs. Third, build a resilience circle. In Argentina, the people who survived were those who had strong family ties and trusted neighbors. In a collapse, your community is your real currency. The story of Argentina is a warning, but it is also a story of human endurance. It shows that even when the state fails, when the money dies, and when the lights go out, life goes on. People still fall in love. They still raise children, and they still find ways to create beauty. But the price of that endurance is high. You can choose to be a victim of the collapse, or you can choose to be a survivor. The difference lies in what you do today. While the system still appears to be functioning, information is your best asset. Preparation is your only shield. Welcome to the reality of survival economics.